Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel and tap the notification bell. I'd appreciate it majorly. So I was thinking on the missing persons case, Suzanne Morphew, which has become nationally known. Everybody knows it by now, or many people do. The Colorado mom who went missing on Mother's Day. They recently revisited the homes. The authorities, state, local, and federal officials, the FBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, maybe even the Salida Police Department participated. So they recently visited the home again of Barry and Suzanne Morphew on County Line Road 225 and U.S. Route Highway 50, where she went missing. I don't have that. I don't know if I have that map up here or not. I don't. I do. But I don't need to look at it right now. So it was back in the news, and since then I've been thinking about it quite a bit. There's been many things about this kind of whole situation that have sort of just bothered me, that don't seem to make a lot of sense. So that's kind of what I'm going to go over here. There's not a whole lot new to add. So this is just kind of my own thoughts on, things that seemed odd to me, and I'll just do them without getting too probing or too, just making flat out accusations and things like that. I'm going to try to stay away from doing things like that, but things that definitely seem particularly odd to me, I just want to go through one at a time. Starting with the interview, which there's a couple different videos of it, of a YouTuber who's got I don't know how new his channel is. I'm not here to probe his channel and stuff like this, but he's been doing YouTube videos about various cases, but he actually goes to the location and himself in person. He lives out in that general area. He's from Arizona. He tells you this, but he also, I think, was looking at the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow case, some other one that I wasn't familiar with that's in, I think, Gilbert, Arizona, somebody that was killed. And he's from Arizona. So, and I think some people were accusing him of staging this a little bit, that he knew Barry ahead of time and that they planned this, so it's certainly possible. I would say, I would say you wouldn't need to know each other. That's not how it would work. Believe me. Neither one. These persons aren't experienced actors or things like that. But you could do it in such a way that you just don't know each other. But some kind of indicator would be given to Barry so that he would know, who's coming to see him, and then just to tell him a story. I mean, it's just so awfully convenient. It really is, of how Barry's able to lay out everything for the cameras, presumably unknowingly being recorded. So that's supposed to sort of lend some authenticity to what's being told. Obviously, he's talking to pretty much a complete stranger, but nevertheless, he's not just speaking to somebody that's a reporter or something like that, where he supposedly, it's supposed to be he's telling the truth, basically. So there's that, and then he just kind of just tells you what happened. It kind of explains where the daughters were that day, where he was, and some of the timing of it and stuff like that. He even has the opportunity to criticize the authorities for tampering or being sloppy in their investigation and removing the bike and driving up and down the road, and many people being in the potential crime scene if she was in fact abducted. So you got all the elements of what's quite convenient for him. So I think that's a legitimate criticism. I don't think that's being overly conspiratorial, and I'd say it's a distinct possibility. It's not for sure, but it's definitely in the realm of very possible. Okay, so there was that, and but what, and that's sort of a little bit leads me to the next problem I have with these. And none of these things are like earth shattering, like oh my god, this proves that there's something fishy going on, other than this woman was just basically abducted, or killed by an animal or killed by some random stranger. I do feel like there's something else going on that's not normal, a normal abduction. I kind of think she's still alive, but I've been wrong about these things before. I've had my moments where I'm right, too. I guess maybe, but I do think she's alive. I do. But the other problem I have with this is, the fact that it was Mother's Day, okay, and from just doing what's available to everybody online of the social media of some of the family members and even the extended family members and their previous life, before they moved to Colorado in Arcadia, Indiana. I think it's Noblesville, Indiana, various towns outside of Indianapolis where they basically raised a family and seemingly a successful landscaping business. I guess it was commercial landscaping. I don't know if he was wholesaling too. That's something I have a question about, and that still remains. I don't have the answers to that, that I'll quickly touch on without getting too, because I just don't know, and nobody does unless you have privy to person's, business and personal tax returns, which obviously I do not. But by what I could tell is this was a pretty religious family, pretty sort of devoutly religious. In fact, he took his Facebook page down, Barry did, and for no particular reason, probably. There wasn't anything terribly revealing on there, and it's his own Facebook page, so who knows whether or not the information's on there is accurate or whatever. But when it was there, the only like he had was it was a Baptist church in Salida, California, actually, in where they live now. Well, they don't live in Salida, but they live outside Salida in Maysville. And Salida is kind of the largest, or the closest large town to them. So I think people in the general area of Salida, say they're from Salida if they're outside of it, like where they are in Maysville. So, but the one like he had was a Baptist church, and I just, I saw some of his relatives. I think he has an uncle that's a pastor and stuff like that. I think these people are devoutly religious. One of the daughter's Instagram accounts says God is great, and stuff like that, which is, it just is what it is. And, but on Mother's Day, and it was on a Sunday, which is also church day, and not everybody goes to church. I don't go to church. She was left alone, so that just seemed kind of strange to me that she was all by herself on Mother's Day. I mean, when the neighbor called the authorities, it was 5:45, 5:45, dinner time, basically. And, whether she went missing or not, she was going to be all by herself, on Mother's Day on Sunday. And I believe this woman actually overcame cancer twice, too. I think there was a rumor out there that it had returned, too. I don't think that's been verified or whatever. But the point is that for a pretty, it seemed like, a pretty religious family, where family is very important, and the mom would be left alone on Mother's Day on a Sunday seemed kind of strange to me. So that was just, and I have no idea why, who knows? I mean, the kids are young. The two daughters are, one's college age. I think the other one is not quite college age, but getting there. And, they're becoming young adults. And so weekend fun is a big thing. And so for them not to be there on Mother's Day, it's also not that earth shattering, but still worth noting. And just to clarify, the daughters were, according to Barry in this interview, with the YouTuber, his name's Tyson Draper, I believe, Draper, excuse me, were on their way and they were running late, and so they were on their way and they eventually got there. I assume when the police were called. I don't know what time they showed up. He says he got there, I think, at 9 o'clock that night or the next night. It's not real clear by the way the interview goes. I think it's by that night, Sunday night, he had come back from Denver 150 miles away, and got there by 9. And so, but and this interview kind of answers some of those questions, those same questions that I'm saying. But it's not as if she was entirely alone, but she was going to be alone most of the day, on Mother's Day. And the daughters were running late. They texted her to Happy Mother's Day, and she didn't answer. And that's what started, according to Barry, according to this interview, the whole, people getting concerned. So the daughters called the neighbor. Can you go check on her? The neighbor went over, saw her car there, but the bike gone. Assumed she went for a bike ride, never came back. Called Barry. Barry said, okay, well, that's there's probably an explanation for that, but let's call the police anyways just to be safe. But just to clarify, the daughters were on their way. They were running late. But nevertheless, Mother's Day, the entire day by herself until at least 6 o'clock for a pretty, family-oriented, devoutly Christian family, So that seemed odd to me. The other thing that stands out to me, and I'm not even going or bouncing around to all these things that I have opened up because I don't need to, is and these things like I they're just I just don't know, and nobody does because we just don't have access to financial records and things like that. You kind of just go on what you can see and the observations you can make. And if, I think I have a fairly business-minded mind, and can make a pretty good judgment normally in terms of, whether or not somebody's a successful business person or not, and people believe me. All people from all walks of life. You don't have to go to college to be successful. I'm telling you, some of the most successful people I've ever encountered, and some of the most impressive, toughest, smartest people never even go to college, and they're just born tough and smart, and they're going to be successful no matter what. So, but part of my question is the money a little bit of their lifestyle. And then it's not like they live some extravagant lifestyle, but the home that they bought in Colorado it's a nice piece of property. It's not crazy nice, but it's pretty nice. $1.5 million home, 7 point something acres, and they bought that I think in April of 2018. The issue I have with that is not so much that they bought that property at all. Is the fact that they hadn't sold their previous home prior to buying that property, and you have to be in pretty well off to pull that off. You do, and there are plenty of people that are successful in life that can do that. Okay, so that's absolutely a possibility. But it still remains a sticking point for me that somebody was able to buy a $1.5 million home without selling their previous home that was listed originally for like $890,000, almost $900,000. A lot of times banks will not do that, and you just have to have extremely good financial standing, either because the previous home is flat out owned in cash, which is possible. People do manage their money extremely well and pay down their debt and just take care of business. That's possible. And so they own the previous home in cash and was able to basically take out a loan on the new home, the $1.5 million home that they bought. And it was their first mortgage. They didn't have a second mortgage. That's a distinct possibility. But again, like I said, it's still, when I looked up some of their stuff, I couldn't figure out if Barry was a wholesaler or just a commercial landscaper. Landscaping's a tough business, man, unless, you don't make a lot of money. And even some of the bigger landscapers, you can make a nice living, but in order to become quite wealthy doing it, you basically have to be one of the biggest persons in a given market, wholesaling to all the other landscapers, and have, just a large lot where you're selling materials, plants, mulch, stone, in bulk. That's usually somebody who's got quite a lot of money. There are the larger landscapers that are just doing landscaping. You can do well, but I'm just saying it's not super lucrative. And but when I was looking at his business in Dun& Bradstreet, which is actually a quite reputable firm, but these are just estimates, and it's not as if his data is kept with Dun & Bradstreet, so these things aren't real firm. They just take data from various places to accumulate as estimates on various things. Dun & Bradstreet is a reputable firm that a lot of times will rate businesses and so forth, but so if some other business wants to know if they're going to be doing business with somebody that's reputable, they may look them up with Dun & Bradstreet and so forth. But, just accessing them online is not the same thing as me, just Joe Schmo, pulling them up on Google, But, I mean, according to Dun & Bradstreet, the BLM Landscaping, which was his landscaping firm, BLM is Barry L. Morphew was his initials. And that's what's registered, to him. At Indiana, the Indiana State Registry for those things. It's not it. It's not it either. That's it. BLM Landscaping, the registrar was Barry Morphew, so forth. But their annual revenue was only, according to Dun & Bradstreet, it was only $136,000, which is with 3 employees. He had other businesses that he had established. Pickia Farms, Uscape It, and stuff like that. And again, I just don't know if he was wholesaling too, in addition to, his name comes up with an address that's basically an 80-acre lot of land, farmland, that wasn't even his property. I looked up the property itself, the ownership of it. Maybe he was leasing that and growing wholesale plants there and then selling them from his home, from his previous home, that he sold before moving to Colorado. So, but just again, the money, is a question for me. So I mean, even the home, and this is Suzanne's Facebook page where they were trying to sell this home, which eventually they have sold. I think they had to knock down the price multiple times and sold it for $750 as opposed to $894 is what they originally listed it for. But it's nice. It is very nice, and it's not just the home that's nice. It's the entire property. It's a beautiful piece of land, 3 acres with a large barn. In fact, I think she describes it on here. It also has a 40 by 70 foot barn on it, as well as 3 acres of land. With the home situated in the middle of the land. It's a unique piece of property. I'll show you up here. That's actually it right there, and this is from Google Satellite. The home's back here. Here's the road, and there's like a gated entrance here. There's land up here where you could grow trees. He might have grown Christmas trees and sold things like that with the 40 by 70 foot barn there, and the nice home there. I mean, even over at Zillow, it's beautiful. So this is where they lived in Arcadia, Indiana. And there's a look at the property here's from street level. This is actually a gated entrance now, and you can almost see the makes of Christmas trees there at one point. That's the 70 by 40 foot barn, and the home's in the back. And it's like a 7,000 square foot home. Nice home. Not huge, but it's nice. With 5 bedrooms, bathrooms. I'm not real sure. I'm sure it says it here. But the thing that I notice about that is so what is it? It's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 6,200 square feet. They bought it back in 2003, so which is quite a while ago, and it's 17 years ago. Barry's 52 now, so he would have been 35 years old. I think she is 49, so she would have been 32, 32, and he's 35. I think she was a middle school teacher. I don't know how long she's been a middle school teacher for. I don't think she is anymore. But, so he was only 35. I believe he played minor league baseball for 1 year in 87. I think he graduated from high school in 86. was drafted by the Blue Jays and played on their farm team for 87, and then that was it. And then I think, I don't know, I believe, according to his Facebook page, which he's taken down, he went to Purdue University, which is very good school. I mean, I have friends whose older brother went there, and I just know Purdue's an excellent school, excellent engineering school. And I think he had on his Facebook page he went there from 90 to 94. So from 94 to 2003, when they bought this home, which is only 9 years, seemed to be doing pretty good. And just more of the fact that the money remains to be a question for me. That's all. So that's pretty much the extent of it. The only other thing I would like to note, lastly, and I noted in my last video, was the fact that they ended up at that other the other property on east of Salida on 105 County Line Road in Vanderveer, where they even dug up some of the foundation that had been laid over top of the dirt that was supposedly laid by Barry and his crew, and that's why they were at that site. That remains a question to me too, because it turned up nothing, and they were there for a number of days. And the fact that I just don't think investigators would have went to that location and without something pointing them in that direction. I think they were pointed in that direction intentionally, to be misled. That would be my guess, just a guess. But and that's another problem I have with this whole case so far. And that's pretty much the story there, man. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.